I have an ILI for that. He's just looking at me. He's not saying shit. No. Loop them up. Okay, so introduce yourself to the fucking audience. Obviously, you are an up-and-coming YouTube star. So who are you? Who the fuck is Solomon?
Right, so Solomon is a guy who makes music and is very interested in typology. Solomon is an ILI.
An ILI with fucked on over SEE, I've been hearing though. Is this true or is this...
You've been hearing? Who's
like
been
from
hearing?
you sometimes be like, you know, like kind of saying... Because you were confused with maybe you're an ILI or maybe you're an LIE. There was some
I wasn't,
shit, right?
all right, no, okay, so I was not confused about it. I've always been sure that I've been ILI. And even when I got typed by Jack, he was also pretty sure. But I get a couple friends every now and then coming up to me and be like, yo, Solomon, you're LIE. You have to be. And I'm like, why? Why are you saying I'm LIE? Well, because you do a lot. You seem like you're really productive and you say that you have a hard time resting. Yeah, basically. Although I used to be one, though. That's for sure. And I was like, yo, this is bullshit.
Okay. You decided that's not the way to fucking go, so you start producing fucking music and being a pimp. Honestly, that should work the fuck out for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's just like there's this weird stereotypes like, oh, if you're out and about or trying to get something done, then you must be an LIE. If you're a basement dweller, you're ILI. And stuff like that. But yeah.
One day I wake up and I see your motherfucking face on my feed with my face in your fucking thumbnail. So I'm thinking, who the fuck is this guy? He created a hit piece on my motherfucking head. So I kind of click on it and then you're like commenting on everyone. And that's your format. You are almost like a commentator of everyone. Yeah. You are genuinely on the sideline. Just criticizing people. You're wrong.
Sometimes,
you are kind of correct, but this is also wrong. So why, like, what led you to kind of do it that way? To make it, you know, into a commentating almost channel instead of something else?
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time just watching content and not really saying anything about it. Just watching and having all these thoughts to myself. So when I started with the YouTube channel, I was doing a bunch of other stuff like celebrity typing and all that. But then one day I was like, let me just do a community reaction. And people liked it a lot and they kept asking me to do more. So I was like, all right, let me do more. Let's see where this is going. It was pretty dope.
People love hit pieces. That's why. You know it.
Yeah, right. Because like the way I see it, it's like, and at the same time, I was like, I can't be bothered to make a whole video to try to address the topic. So let me just consume some content, react at the same time, and then do stuff like that. So yeah.
So it's basically because people reacted quite well. Everyone loves drama, bro, and that stars drama.
And I wanted to save my energy as well.
You're gamma. Motherfucker, you're gamma. You know what you're doing? You're smart. So this is a good way. And you're probably like the only one who's doing that way, meaning there's something special about your channel. You know what I'm saying? There's something you're doing differently from everyone else. So hopefully after this video, some motherfuckers from my channel are gonna be like, oh man, this guy shits on Rust sometimes, so let's fucking view and let's make fun of
I shit on everybody on
that's the thing with you. That's why it's not that deep to me. Cause like I see your videos, like I watch it genuinely. I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, here we fucking go. And then like you say something and I'm like, oh fuck, okay. And then you're like, yeah, but he's the cool guy. You like his channel. It's like, okay. What I like about you, even though that shit is fucking painful, you're unbiased. You are unbiased and you tend to kind of, you know, I've noticed this about you. You tend to be, you know, neutral. You tend to try to be neutral. Some motherfucker says Rust is this, Rust is a fucking war criminal. Maybe Rust is a fucking war criminal. I don't fucking know, right? And it's kind of like this. So it's I do think people probably find this shit refreshing. And this is good for many because you kind of provide information without added flavor. Like I tend to do the opposite of you. It's kind of funny, you know, because I tend to, you know, fucking, you know me, right? Ass cheeks spreads here, this slurp in there. You watch that shit, you're thinking, what the fuck am I watching? You know, a porno or something? It's crazy. It's really fucking crazy. So different strokes for different folks. That's why we need both channels. What I'm also curious about is your typological journey, because obviously I've seen your videos, but I don't know your history. What the fuck? How did this start, man? Tell us all about it.
I think it was back in uni. I was like getting into self-development. Then I stumbled on the 16 personalities test. I did that. I don't even remember the result that I got. And then after that, I left it. And then I came back to it like several months later for whatever reason So then I started getting hooked to it, consuming content. Then I went and I found like people like C.S. Joseph and other channels and a sort of psych. Yeah, we don't even, yeah,
bro,
fuck.
my condolences, dude. What the fuck?
Okay. Right. So it just started from being shallow MBTI to in-depth Jungian typology, reading Jung's book and a bunch of people's books, trying to like master a bunch of different systems. Went through John Beebe's system, Linda Barron's system, and all that stuff, and then got into Socionics. And and I just like I was mildly aware, vaguely aware of Socionics, and then I was like, yo, Socionics is actually like the best system in terms of like it's how it explains stuff. Everything else is just BS. It's inaccurate and all that. So I was like, fuck that. All right. So my goal in Socionics was to take all, because it's a lot of theory, right? It's a lot of theory.
It is, man.
My goal really is to take that theory and to try to apply it and then show people the application of that theory. That's really what I want to do, because I feel like there's a lot of potential there.
You were fucking knee deep in some dark shit. Like, you're telling me C.S. Joseph, that's the first fucking thing you tell me.
I watched a lot of people, don't get me wrong, but C.S. Joseph was just one of many, like Personality Hacker, Sort of Psych, and a lot of other channels as well. So if anybody watches my channel knows that I also critique CSJ a lot. Right,
I've seen a bit of that, and I already know he's like tripping, and I know this guy. Listen, I knew C.S. Joseph like long time. Well, knew him. That's kind of weird, right? I didn't know him. I was on his server like many years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and I didn't know shit about MBTI. I didn't know anything. So I'm there. You know, to me it was like a social server. I joined this voice chat. I get muted or warned. Then I get banned on the server. So, but my mission my mission failed, because my mission was like, okay, I want to talk to this C.S. Joseph guy. I don't even know why. I think I wanted to make fun of him, genuinely. I think that was my only reason. But I got fucking banned. And back then he was having that little board, the whiteboard, and he was explaining the TI hero. And I was like, oh, this seems kind of like he fucking jerks off to it, and he made that shit and he thinks he's genius for it. So I didn't really. I was like, meh. He started tripping. I don't know if there was some LSD action going on.
That's what I was about
women
to say.
Here, women there, women in the kitchen. I'm like,
yo. You know, it's when he started getting into the red pill. That's where he fell off.
And now, listen, he's out in the streets, gangster, bruh. Like, fucking gloves on his hands, smoking. Everyone wants to be like him because we all haters, okay? So, congratulations to C.S. Joseph. Hopefully his life is good.
The community reactions that I do, it's like more than just me sitting and watching and reacting. It's more like me giving tutorials, my opinion, my thought of this. And I'm also doing like live fact checking. So like when CSJ says, he said this crazy thing that 9 out of 10 women with a bachelor's degree are more likely to get a divorce. And then right then and there, I just pulled up some sources.
Statistics,
and it was like the exact opposite was true. Yeah. Literally the opposite of what he said was true. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So yeah. And I feel like somebody has to call people out in this, because like you're spreading all this incorrect information.
Nonsense.
Let me tell you a story about a time I was in his group. I talked to this girl in his group, and she was trying to talk about some weird hormonal therapy thing that CSJ talked about. She went to 2 doctors, and each one of the doctors was like, no, this is BS. We don't know what you're talking about. This is nonsense. And she kept insisting. And then when I tried to bring up to her, yo, you're being a little bit irresponsible here, she was like, you're rude, you're disrespectful, and whatnot. I'm like, what the f***? Where'd that come from?
It was some spiritual healing that he probably fucking told her and she believed it. Like, come on, man, what is this?
That means like, it's just like the information that's being spread is just going to lead you off a cliff. And I'm just trying to give out the correct facts, at least, you know?
You know, I do Socionics, but Socionics, I wouldn't say it's like my passion. You know, it's like Socionics is my like favorite thing to jerk off to, okay? I do prefer Enneagram, and I sometimes would stumble upon channels like you do with your Socionics, right? So I sometimes watch this channel, I'm like, fuck, like, oh, this should probably be addressed. People with so many subscribers, and I'm talking like hundreds of thousands. And I'm not talking 1,000, I'm talking 50,000, 100,000. People who have this mass influence, and they're really just, it's not that they're retarded, they're just using something that really is flawed. So that's it. But I do kind of see your point in creating content and kind of going after them. You know, you keep saying like, you know, you decide ILI. How did you decide on ILI for yourself? Like, what was your like initial mistype? Because we all had some ridiculous fucking mistypes You know me, ENTP
Yeah,
8, Big Daddy Dom, ENTP 8. So like, I want to know what was yours, because that shit's ridiculous, you know it.
I think when I first got into it, I wanted to be, okay, I'm going to talk in MBTI, then transition to Socionics, because I know they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
I wanted to be what an MBTI called an INFP, which FI Dom. I thought that was the cool type. Wow. This was back when I first got started, though, right? I used to think my FI was good, but then later on, I realized my FI was trash.
You were like, it's gay.
No,
it's gay, we don't do it.
No, it's not that. It's just I realized I'm trash at it. Oh, okay. I forget. Okay.
No, you will have a lot of this, okay? So prepare.
In MBTI, I ended up concluding I was INTJ, right? After a while. But then I started thinking, wait, but maybe I'm ENTJ instead. Maybe I'm TE lead instead of NI lead, right?
Yeah.
That type. And when I got into Socionics in the beginning stage, I initially thought that I was LIE. And it was just based off of like reading quick descriptions. I didn't really take it that seriously. Then I got a type session. I got type sessions with some MBTI people, right? Certified and all that. And they all said that I was the MBTI equivalent of NITE type, which is INTJ. Then I went and I did a session with Jack in Socionics, different system. And I'm like, I have really no idea what I'm going to get. Yeah. I just had this vague awareness of LIE. I remember reading it on description once, so I thought it was that. And then Jack typed me ILI, which is NITE type. So it's like the same in both systems, which is that doesn't happen often, right? Most people, when they get typed in two different systems, they get different results. So I ended up getting typed ILI. And then when I heard like the reasoning for it, it made sense, especially from Model A. From Model A. Well, the reasoning was basically everything that I was doing was all like according to some sort of like long-term vision that I have. So I'm 25. I've known what I wanted to do since I was 16, 17, and I've been working at that since then. Yeah. Wow. So it's like I had like this sense of where my life was going to head, and I've always had that, and I've just been trying to stay on the course the entire time up until now. So to Jack, that's a strong indication of NI lead. And I'm not really trying to be like the LIEs, which are competent for their own sake, running around just trying to be as productive and competent. Me, it's more like, let me acquire skills as a way of supporting that. Yes. NI. But there were still a few things that were a bit odd, such as, so for example, in high school, I like to put together teams of people. Like I was actually the guy who, when I'm hanging out with friends, I'm usually the guy who's leading the group, so to say. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And I thought to myself, this doesn't seem like ILI behavior. It seems more like LIE-ish, some sort of EJ type.
Higher SE than SE suggestive in your eyes.
So I brought this up to Jack, and then Jack was like, he said it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm LIE. It could just be because people are surrounded by the interest. And he kept saying that it all comes back, everything I do comes back to this long-term sort of direction that I'm trying to head in. So it's not like I'm doing it for its own sake or whatever. It's more like I have this interest, this direction that I'm trying to go in and stuff like that. Like even I have my own group, like on Facebook group. I set up my own group there and I host my own weekly calls and ask people to join. So it was just overall this behavior of like quote unquote leadership that I didn't think was attributed to the ILI usually.
You know, as long as the fucking elements fit and you ain't the biggest daddy dome of all fucking big ass fucking dick swinging Chadwick who spends like all his life in the fucking gym, even I would tell you maybe you are fucking mistyped. Okay, you should be in the basement playing World of Warcraft, but you here jerking off in the fucking gym. Something went wrong.
But don't get me wrong, I used to be what you call a basement dweller, but like I'm just like.
What do you mean basement dweller? How bad we talking? Like on a scale of like I like to jack off in the basement from time to time to like World of Warcraft, I spend money on that shit. If even you could spend money on that shit, although that sounds like a fucking sketch to me.
I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't know how to use that skill, bro.
Just say 1 to 10. Yo, the ILI is like, that's a shitty scale. No, that's a shitty scale. But okay, just
So like a 7, 8, like it got to the point where people were like, "Bro, why don't you ever go outside or do anything?
Like
you're
just always like social."
I can sit in my ivory tower reading books and philosophizing all day long, but like, what the fuck's the point? At the end of the day, I believe this is for me, and I think this applies to all NI DOMs, SE suggestives. At the end of the day, we want to see our vision become real. I was talking about this with Porcupine Jason in the interview I had with him, where I told him how like people with SE suggestive, it's like You can just sit in your room all day, ivory tower, but like, what's the point? You're not going to find any meaning in that. Eventually, you're going to get fed up.
Now, I've seen that. I literally seen that happen, even in my wife, who is an IEI. Like, I've seen this. Yes, I think SE suggestives can struggle. For example, she can struggle with that motivation. She can struggle with actually putting the time into action, like going into it, not hesitating. But she always knew, just like you said. You know, when you knew what you wanted since you were young, she had the same thing. SE suggestive who's healthy, who has grown, they actually put their shit into action. Because that's the point, right, of you being SE suggestive. To actually fucking move and enable the SE. But if you're just stuck in your basement jerking off...
Your NI will never come to fruition. That's the way I put it.
You can just fucking daydream. That's not going to do shit.
Right. And another way I'd put it is basically this, is that it doesn't have to be like, when I say talk about getting out there, it's not always SE. It's from the point of TE sometimes. Like, okay.
Just, you mean external world. That's all you
external world. Yeah, exactly. Like, get out there and actually do something for somebody else other than yourself once in a while. Go out there and like engage with the external world. It's not going to be through SE. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still bad at my SE. I still get tired very quick. And I'm like, okay, let me save my energy here instead of expending it there. It's like controlled. Like, you know, you have like specific areas. You take your step time. It's never going to be like over the top. Oh, look at me. All of a sudden,
you're not going to take out your fucking SE cock and start swinging it. Like, that's not gonna happen.
And then lasso women with it.
Like, I'm a Chadwick. Like, that's, you know, can you imagine that? Like, I know that in classic socionics, mobilizing is called oftentimes as like snowflake.
What do you mean? What does that
mean? Like,
mean?
Apparently an element that can be sensitive to criticism, even though they perceive SC suggestive as actually much more unbothered. So yeah. So would you agree with this statement? Like, that's how it is for you?
100%. Even in Model A, they say that base and the mobilizing are sensitive to criticism, but the creative and suggestive is not. Yes. So if someone comes up to me and is like, "Yo, dude, you need to be more active, energetic," I'm not gonna get offended because I know you're right.
Not that deep.
No, because I know you're right. Like, you're right.
Yeah, it's true.
I really suck at this. Can you help me out with it?
So you're open. So you're unbothered, but you're open for feedback. You're open for the help.
Definitely, 100%. But when it comes to like my FI, you can't really. There's no. It's difficult to like convince me in that area about things, or to get like me to open to feldback and information. And it makes sense because it's
stubborn.
It's way more stubborn.
How old were you when you were heavy in the basement dwelling, and how old were you when you kind of got out of that situation?
I feel like I go in and out of it sometimes.
Okay.
But it got really bad. Like, for example, during uni, it was mainly like that. Like when I was 19 to 23. Like 23 was when I decided, this needs to stop.
Yep.
It's interesting because I go in and out of it sometimes, and sometimes it's like, okay, this isn't good. Let me get out of it and shit like that. And there were instances before, like in high school, where I was more outgoing than when I was in uni. So it's like, it's weird. It changes throughout time.
Up and down, yeah.
Yeah, but it gets like really bad for very long periods of time. And I remember I was 23 and that was when I was like, fuck this shit. I need to push myself out as much as I can. Yeah, like I even like volunteered to do construction work at one point in time, which was a bad idea.
How'd that go for you? How'd that go for you?
It wasn't good. It was hard. Like I came back completely like exhausted as shit. But then I wanted to like save up some money. But I got lucky. You know how?
Yeah. What?
An art. So I do music production at the side.
Yeah. I've seen some. Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, a guy that I knew was like, "Yo, I need to hire you for this project." And so I was like, "Oh, okay, I can quit this job." It was during the summer between uni. So I was like, "I can quit this job because now I'm getting paid a lot of money from production." Cool. So that was after 2 days of working construction.
You got you got fucking lucky with it. How's your music career going? Like, is like you reaching to your dreams? Like, what is it?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest most famous person, but I managed to get some industry placements. So like produced for like Roche the 5'9", D12, Eminem's old group, and so I have like that, but that's about it. I still have a lot more I need to do.
So like, you're just fucking humble, and you don't want to say you're the greatest of all time. I understand. I would say this
because I'm not. Because I wouldn't say that at all. No,
I know.
Yeah.
Would you say you've seen any pattern to this SE or like this kind of being closed in and being closed off? Is there any pattern, or is that shit just random?
I think it happens because like for me to be able to go, I have to find a way to make the physical activity related somehow to my NI. Somehow. If I don't, then I'm like completely unmotivated.
Basically some meaning. There must be added some meaning to it.
Right? Yeah. And it needs to like lead up to, like help. Yeah, exactly. If it's not, it's like, what's the point? And I'm like, whatever, and I become very indifferent to the situation that I'm in.
So imagine, it's the way I imagine it, it's like an ILI. She's like, if we're gonna be fucking, then there must be a baby made, because like if you ain't gonna be pregnant, why the fuck are we doing this? Is this even accurate for ILIs? I mean, you said NI base, so what the fuck?
I mean, it can be
but
that way.
But sex is the exception. Yeah, I understand.
That's basically how you got to find a way to make it align to NI somehow. Because sometimes what I do is I try to go outside and try to have like a new experience, and then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? What's the point of this? What's the point? Yeah. Or I just end up doing the same thing, and I'm like, or I just go back home.
Would you say people kind of view you as pessimistic sometimes? Like,
yes. Oh, yes. No. People, it got really it got to a point where people were like, dude, you're so like cynical and pessimistic. We don't want to hang out with you anymore. Like that. It got to that point one time. But then, but I wanted to like make a change, because like I think there's a difference between your nature and your nurture.
Yeah.
Like how you are by default and how you try to make yourself be.
And I think those both things play into one another too. Like, so of course, a lot of it is biology. A lot of it is your, again, fundamental temperament, your genes, right? Or your gene code, whatever. But a lot of it is also your upbringing, your environment, where you were brought up with, right? By what people you were raised by, what values, and all of that shit does matter in how you can. Some things, I'm a big believer that some things we can definitely improve, we can change, but some things, they're more or less fundamentally just fixed. And I see many people struggling with accepting that, hey, because we live in an era nowadays where everyone tries to be someone else. Now you have, as you said, the red pill shit and all of that garbage, right? So it's all about like, you need to become this that the societal expectation has for you. But then this person is very introverted. Imagine it's an IEI or ILI. You can never be this imagined ideal, because that's just not your fucking personality. You can try to fake it, but you'll never be able to do it naturally. That's not who you are. You can improve some things. You can become less, for example, more outgoing. You can become less anxious socially. You can do that with practice, but a lot of the behaviors, of the attitudes, you just cannot fucking do it. And I think people need to learn what I can affect, what's part of my nature, and what I can improve upon. For example, discipline. You can fucking change discipline. Many people say, I have no fucking discipline. I also had no fucking discipline. Like, when I was young. You can learn that by doing something and constantly fucking doing it, even if you don't want to do it. So that's kind of my take on this nature and nurture shit. What do you think about that?
No, I definitely agree 100%. There are things you can and can't change. But I also think it's also important to know that, like, for example, some people are introvert. No one is fully introvert or fully extrovert. You're gonna have a little bit of both, and you need to develop what is called an ambivert, basically. You just develop certain skills, because the world's kind of tough, man. Like sometimes you find yourself in a situation, and that does not cater to your nature. Like what are you gonna do in that situation? Where you're just gonna be like, oh well, I'm not gonna put myself out there because I'm an introvert. Oh, everybody, come on, guys, don't let me go do that, because I don't. That's not me. The world doesn't give a fuck.
So it's true, like you have to fucking adapt. Either you adapt or you fucking die. Not literally, although in some fucking cases even literally. but it's true that no one will give a fuck, and no amount of excuses you'll give out to the world, no one's gonna give a shit. They just think you're a victim, right? So yes, you can be introverted. That doesn't mean you have to be a fucking loser. Introversion doesn't mean it's some. That's all it is, it's cognitive fucking introversion. Do you think it's easier to distinguish ENTJ and INTJ in the MBTI world, or the LIE and ILI?
That's interesting.
See, I fucking told you, dude. I got the ILI thinking. No need to fucking thank me, guys.
Harder in MBTI, maybe. Because what I've noticed is that this is my opinion from how I see it. It seems like a lot of descriptions of ILIs, they mix in aspects of LII or somebody who doesn't value SE.
Yes.
But when you talk about LIEs, it's very clear that they have that extroversion, because you can explain away almost anything in MBTI. That's why nothing's clear.
And I do think it's funny. I agree with you completely, and I do think that's actually we have the correct answer here, because I feel like in Socionics, shit is more defined. You know, like I feel like this shit is more defined, and I'm not really trying too hard to create mental gymnastics as much. Like I'm not doing that. But there's a reason why in MBTI you can start as a fucking INTJ and end up INFP. And it's all because we have those weird definitions, right? Especially for the beginners, like SC means you like partying, SC means like you're crazy, and E is just ideas. So not easy. Not easy.
I think the main issue is that MBTI does not factor in strength. It's all about preference, like what you like to do, whatever it is that you value. Where Socionics doesn't do that. It's like, okay, listen, there are things that you like to do, and then there are things that you're actually good at or you suck at, which is an important distinction Socionics makes that MBTI doesn't. Second, I'd say that Socionics is really at its best when you're using like a model, like Model A. Now, I know there's Model G and all that, but let's just say Model A. I don't even rely on the type descriptions, by the way, because I think even the type descriptions are a little bit arbitrary.
Bullshit. You think they can be actually a hindrance because you read an ILI and you might not fit it perfectly, and you start doubting yourself because some fucking.
It depends
bullshit.
on who's writing it. Like
I agree.
Filatova's description of ILI, I think is great. But I go read somebody else description. It's like, what is this? This seems like it's a little bit of mixture between LII and EII. Somebody who doesn't value SE. Or even talk about their TE. That's the weird thing. It's like they don't even talk. It's just they're focusing more on NIFI. Different interpretations, different takes. And they're relying on something that's like just dependent on adjectives. But when you use Model A, it's much better because you're actually using the dichotomies and the principles. It's much more clear.
You have 8 elements to play with in Socionics. Ego block, there's super ego, super ID. You have everything explained. Where is this in MBTI? I'm sure you have the C.S. Josephs, you have the other fucking.
The closest thing is Linda Behrens and John Beebe. Those are the closest because John Beebe talks about the function slots, and then Linda Behrens tries to talk about a little bit more like Socionics, her interaction styles and temperaments. And there are some shared things, like for example, in Linda Behrens' system, there is outcome versus process, which is the same as the Renin dichotomy of result versus process and all that. But it's mostly bullshit, to be honest. It's mostly because, and here's 2 reasons why. Well, one mainly, but it's Linda Behrens' stuff builds on Kiersey's. Kiersey's is lopsided and inaccurate, and it just it's like why are there, for example, in charge types? 3 of them are EJs, 1 of them is an EP. Why? Like why aren't 4 of them EJs? For that, for example, and it's like. Whatever, so that's the closest you're gonna get, and it's still not good enough.
Why spend time on that if you can already use Socionics that's already developed? What's the rationale there? That's what I don't fucking understand.
Well, the rationale is so from a marketing point of view, because that's kind of what I work as in my day job. People will only they pick up MBTI over Socionics because it appeals to them. It's not just easy. It's not just because it's easy, because it gets people feeling good about themselves.
Oh, fuck, you mean it compliments you. The description is all about how big of a dick you have.
So it compliments you and it gets you to feel good. And then oh, I like this description about me. This is the type I am. But then there's another problem. There's the opposite problem. For example, something that C.S. Joseph does. It's the same. It's on the same spectrum here. It's just the other side of it, which is insulting you or attacking you using your type, which is something that CSJ does a lot. They're both like used to emotionally manipulate people. Now, the great thing about Socionics Model A is that it's neutral. It's not trying to make you feel good or feel bad. It's just telling you the description. Model A based off of principles. And you can do whatever the hell you want with that.
We've all fell victim to MBTI and the stereotyping. I mean, fuck, man. We all did, right? Intuitives, this, and fuck. Even now, there are so many characters that get mistyped as intuitive type because of the bias. Because of weird fucking stereotypes that people have created.
Intuitives are the good types, the cool types. The thing is, real intuitive types, I think they actually like sensing types. Like I personally, I like SE-based people, or people who are grounded, concrete, because I think they're awesome. Like, okay, you talk to me about intuition, I'm like, okay, dude, like I live with this every day.
Yeah, you know it. You know it.
I know it. It's good and it's bad, and it's like nothing. It's like I don't care. I'm more interested in the thing that I don't have, which is the sensing. Like, how do people live in the concrete world and actually fully immerse themselves, you know?
Yeah, and I'm the same way also. I think it's natural, you know. Many intuitives I know, many ILIs I know, they like spending time with SE bases. They like spending time with them, and it's very fun for them, you know? So
I say this all the time. SEEs are my favorite type. I say this all the time. I think they're the coolest type.
I hear you say that, yeah. I remember you talked about this kind of dilemma. when I was like retyping myself. You said, you were kind of concerned. I got the concern vibe from you. You were like, oh, content creators, they need to be responsible for what they produce. And so can you elaborate on that? Like, why do you think that's important? Because I do think it's an important topic.
Well, to start off, people come to content creators to understand.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, So a lot of the times when people have an opinion, I think this celebrity is that type, I think this is how it works, they're getting their idea mainly from a content creator. Like most of the time, they're not really thinking of themselves. Yeah. Some of them do, some don't. But even when you're thinking about yourself, there's still that influence from other people and what they've said. I think it's important for content creators because understand, at least try your absolute best to create the most, like a video or send information the most accurate way possible. Like I would say, don't claim to know everything or know the absolute truth, and that anybody who denies your opinion is absolutely wrong.
For sure. I mean, yeah.
Right? None of that cultic shit, right?
I agree with you. Yeah, of course.
And when it comes to people's type, like for example, they're going to look at me, they're going to look at you, they're going to look at other content creators and say, oh, that's their type, and this is how that type behaves. And then they start again. I'm really thinking about it in terms of the overall intelligence of the group.
Damn.
Right?
Okay, so you pay attention to how the they be thinking.
Yeah.
But don't you think, hey, that's their fucking problem? Or like they fucked up, they goofed up. It's funny because if they know Socionics, they're learning it. Let's assume many of them do know Socionics.
Yeah.
They don't have their own opinion on your type, even though they see you behave clearly in some type of way, and they still just believe you're this type because you fucking thought it. Do you think maybe it's their own fucking problem? What do you think about that?
I think part of it is their own problem, for sure. But then again, it's like when we look at like, okay, the quality of the information being transmitted between people, if we're going to try to filter the bullshit, right, we have to start by saying, okay, content creators, try your best to send information. That's actually the reason why I got myself typed by 4 different people and I intentionally wanted to be transparent about it, because like I've known people who lie about their type, and they know they're not the type that they claim to be, but they're lying just so that they can get views, publicity. They're trying to take advantage of the fact that in people MBTIs value intuitives more than sensors. So it makes me wonder, like, how many content creators are pretending to be a specific type just for clout, and then lying and spreading misinformation and not giving a shit at all.
So it's almost like you were simply concerned that you was just concerned about the community, and in a sense, like that people are real. Like,
yeah,
that,
I mean,
what you see is what you get, and they're not actually doing this to cosplay and genuinely mislead someone.
Yeah, that's part of it, and also sometimes like a mistake, like, oh, I said this thing, this information that I gave out is not accurate, but people are still using it. I mean, at least update and say, oh no, guys, stop listening to this. This is accurate. We found something new. Because here's the thing, right? Now, I'm aware that this standard's a little bit high, and most people aren't going to do what I do. Right? Yeah. They're not going to think this way, and I'm aware that that's cool, whatever. But the way I see it is that the type community is always evolving, always changing. We're always learning new stuff. Sure. So we have to keep telling people, hey, listen, we discovered this. This is actually what it is. Just throw the shit that was before away. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, right? So I think if you have that open dialogue and stuff like that, it'll help clarify things and just like make people less stupid, including myself, including everyone.
Oh, for sure. And I do think many people come to me sometimes, like things changed. You had this idea a year ago, 2 years ago. What happened? And then I explain what happened. I read this, and I think many people don't like it. Many people, they want to stick to it. And I always have to tell them, listen, I'm not saying everything changes, because it doesn't. But our knowledge in typology, everyone included, think about it this way. 5 years ago, compare the knowledge of people 5 years ago to many people now, as a community. Now people know way more than they did 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So we are always evolving, and you need to fucking accept that. Many people can't. Like, yes, you will say shit, maybe, right? You might have, you will work with certain limited information, and you make a judgment based on that. But then maybe a new book comes out, maybe new information. Maybe you are now reading more and you're like, oh shit, okay, let me update it. This is how it is, guys. This is the updated shit. So I do think people need to fucking understand this. It's not ideology. It's not. Many people treat typology as a fucking ideology. And they think that's why I do too. They look at me and they fucking presume that I sit here, jerk off, because I have an ideology. They don't know me. They've never fucking talked to me, even never seen my stream. They would see how I am like. So it's easy to assume it's a fucking ideological. Well, fuck ideology. That's all I have to say.
Ideology.
Yeah, it's true. You want correct information or you don't. Like, it's all about different sides. My side, your side, who's winning. That's why we get fucked because of that. So the truth is we need to try to... It's too easy, especially when you create systems. Imagine, you are a system creator. You made a system. You probably think that system is better because you made it, because you thought everything else was inept. You thought everything else was not good enough. So you decided you know better. You might kind of have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. You might be invested in thinking it's better. There will be some ideology there. It's hard for me to believe that you create this one shit, and most people who do that, they have a horse in the race, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, they attach themselves to the theories that they make, and they insist on it being better, and they don't, and that gets in the way of progress.
Yes, because think about a person who has a system will always. They did it because they believe it's better. They did it because they wanted to expand on something that was already broken in their view. Why the fuck would they come up to you and then they're like, yeah, all my system is wrong. You're right. Yeah, yours is better. That I've never seen the fucking shit happen. I'm retarded, for example. Like, not clinically, obviously. But I make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all fuck up. We all say stupid shit. I said some dumb shit. But you own it. You say, yeah, I say some fucking stupid shit. But then you're willing to open your fucking mind. You're willing to fucking learn. You made a video on that one motherfucker. Who
yeah.
You know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not going to air it.
No, bro. Yeah, there are many of those.
Many of those. That's what I'm reminding you.
No, I got so used to it. It's like nothing now. That's the thing. I get used to it. It's like, okay.
I've seen that video and I'm like, oh my God, you know what's crazy? And I was like, that motherfucker was doing this shit to me too. I'm like, what the fuck? So, Typology community has some crazy fucking motherfuckers. To them, that's their life. They ain't even getting paid with this shit. That's their life. So,
dude, I suspect what's going on is that they've got some issues in their personal life and they're trying to dump it into here. That's what I think might be going on.
I've seen, he was talking about looks or some shit, or some fucking weird shit, like, oh my God. Guys, I genuinely need to tell people, guys, this is Typology, okay? If your mom hurt you or your dad when you were young, it's not me. It wasn't me. I wasn't your dad. It wasn't him, okay? It wasn't Solomon. Solomon did not creep at night, touch you. No, it was just your uncle, so fucking get the information straight.
Oh my God,
just
you're a fucking
to
savage,
clarify this situation.
Dude, you're a fucking savage. I'm not gonna lie.
People are often afraid to say it. I think people are sometimes, they want to, I don't want to say politically correct, they don't want to be, but, you know, you don't want to be blasted by fucking everyone, by being very opinionated. Because if you're very opinionated, you're going to be at the center. That's going to make you a fucking target. So you have to kind of be aware of that. You have to fucking do it. And many people, they don't do that shit, you know? They're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to fucking say how the fuck it is. Many channels want to be more politically correct, even when some viewers come to them and just act the fuck out. I've had some people come to me with the most crazy shit, telling me, I judge my life based on your videos, my life decisions. And I'm like, motherfucker, if you base your fucking life decisions on what you see, seek motherfucking help. Literally. Yeah. That's the type of... And they expect you to bow and be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. No. Motherfucker, you retarded. Like that's it. You know? Like, we need more people to kind of stand up and be like, we're not going to entertain garbage. We're not going to entertain bullshit.
But see, some content creators don't do that. They're just going to be like, okay, there are these idiots who are desperate. Let me take advantage over them.
Yeah, we got that. So what do you think about the SLE and SEI type for me? What did you think of it?
No, dude. I think now, especially after talking to you and hearing you say fuck ideology and all that, I mean, it kind of seems obvious your team valuing now.
That's boring. I thought you were gonna give me some better answer. Like,
wait, hold up. So okay, no, that's just the beginning. Okay, so you said something interesting, which is that you actually identified with the whole trying to be all free and stuff, I know, like the gamma quad values. No, I didn't see that. That's the thing. I didn't see that in you before you made that actual video. That's the thing. I never knew that about you. And I wanted to ask you personally, did you discover that about yourself recently?
No, no. I was always a person who was very focused on being free. But that never really seemed to contradict SLE for me. Like, or even beta. Like, why? Okay, I often thought, that's just my trait. That's my trait. That's rusted trait. I am very focused on freedom. And I will maximize it. So I didn't think, oh, that must mean I'm a gamma type or I cannot be SLE. That is why I've always known I'm very a person who wants freedom. Everything I do is about autonomy. I want to maximize autonomy and not have anyone telling me what the fuck to do. And I thought, still works for an SE base. So what was the problem?
Yeah, well, it doesn't. That's the thing. It's not SLE-ish at all to be. It is pure SE.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I do believe there was a severe level of coping involved in misunderstanding the type, and you have to also consider this genuine.
Yeah.
I am not a person who got typed SLE by two fucking no-namers or like two people in Model A. Like my Psychosophy profile filled with the fucking votes. I had Vincent from Open Socionics. He typed me SLE too. You have to consider that. This is not just some bullshit.
Right.
That is why I was like, okay, they're credible. They're credible, so what the fuck, right? They were around me and they kind of thought, okay, I'm an SLE, it makes sense. And I think it's also a problem of, you probably have seen it, people really jumping on a bandwagon. And I think that's what happened. I do genuinely think that is what happened. And it's not even on YouTube. Like before I knew anything about YouTube, people are around me, they see SLE, they see the label, they see how I act, everything. Nothing's changed. And people are like, oh yeah, he's such an SLE. Oh yeah. And no one doubts it, really. Rarely ever someone like, this behavior doesn't fit much. It rarely ever happened. So that's also something to consider,
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, they're both SE bases, so they're gonna have a lot of similarities. The base is the same, I and me. So it's all about just having force and being in the concrete world.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I'll tell you this. The whole aspect of beta quadra being very like passionate. This is why I'm telling you it's not bullshit. Passionate, provocative, right?
Yeah.
People who are rebellious. That's what we associate with beta, correct?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now I would agree with you now. But that's what I was always under the impression of. Every source I've read, betas are the revolutionaries. Betas are the super rebellious people who like to provoke. They like to poke for reactions. That's what I used to do. That's what the fuck I do, right? A person in the environment who elicits strong reactions in people. So what the fuck? I'm thinking that must be a beta, a super beta.
I mean, eliciting strong reactions in people based on opinion can be applied to anybody who likes to speak their mind. I wouldn't even put this. I wouldn't even say this is a quadra thing, to be honest.
See, and I agree with you, and that's the fucking problem. And that is how you'd be surprised, but this is how many people think. I guarantee you, if I ask them, what do you think beta is, they would tell you exactly this. They're revolutionary, they're passionate. There were cases where people thought like very intense romance was only capable to be done by a beta couple or beta quadra individuals in a romance because of that intensity and romanticism.
Right, I want to ask you, how is FI and FE playing with you? Like how are you using both FI and FE? I think that's also going to be an interesting question if we break that down.
So for me, I was always thinking, I was under the impression that I'm an SLE because I'm FI polar, aka I don't give a fuck. Now this is the key statement here. Not I'm coping, it's vulnerable, I'm shy. It's nonchalant, I don't care. It's whatever, easy peasy. That's what I used to think, which is retarded, by the way. This is retarded. Don't fucking think the way I did. But I was always under the impression because I am not scared of hurting people's feelings. I am very outspoken. I don't give a fuck, I'm going to say what the fuck I think. And people always told me, no, that's actually... SCs are much more gentle because they value FI and they have for the FE, so they're more aware of the shit that they're gonna impact with people. They don't want that. That is what people told me. And an SLE doesn't give a shit. SLE just does what he wants. Not true. That's not true, obviously. So for me, that's why I thought I might be FI power, because I had that indifference, and I can be indifferent to people. I can be callous. I don't even get attached to people fucking strongly and like, oh, I'm so emotional about people. So it's not that. When I discovered I had a fight, when I was entertaining, I started entertaining SE because I was typed. by classic Socionics, some CSC. So by a questionnaire, and they typed me SE, and I was reading some of that shit, and they pointed out higher dimensionality and like strong valuation of FI ego. For example, not being normative. I decide on the information of FI that I think is correct. And it's also seen in how I deal with people. I'm very good at building rapport with other individuals. And people often would come to me with relationship problems. And I would know that. Men, women, how to do it, what their motivations are. But I used to think that's just common sense. Like, genuinely, I used to think that has nothing to do with fucking FI. It's just, I understand how women operate. I understand how men operate. It's fucking common sense. Anyone can know that. So that was my fucking mentality. And with 4D FE, I always knew I had more FE than an usual SLE. Always. And I knew my FE is more. And I used to get type, SLE, C. Creative subtype. Creative subtype has more FE. Creative subtype has boosted FE. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I do have boosted FE. That's what happened. So I'm thinking that, and so for me, the FI was definitely also seen by other people who gave me almost a third perspective. You kind of do operate in that relation. People can give you an ethical problem between two people, and you're able to break it down, like what went wrong and where, in detail, with nuance. That's weird. That's not what we see from an SLE. And you being in the center of attention, you being so outspoken, that's also not very fucking SLE, like in your fucking fashion, So do you have any other questions about the whole SLE, SEE thing, or you get a better picture now?
No, I got a better picture.
It's not that
now.
He's telling you need to type me SE. I don't give a fuck. You can fucking
I know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I know you're not. That's not what you're doing. I know.
Yeah,
it's all good though.
But I'm definitely gonna be cutting this motherfucking part out because I'm gonna be spending time some thinking, right? Doing some thinking. So let me think. Man, we need questions, man. We need fucking questions. See, that's the problem, man. That's how how I know I'm in SE. I'll tell you something. Listen, because I actually made 4 questions and I never went past the 4 fucking questions. That's the fucking problem. Actually, no. You know what? Fuck you. I have a question. For you. So I have a question for you. Are you ready? Okay, and thank you.
All right.
This is good. So, Enneagram and Psychosophy. My wife's laughing. My wife is having the best time of her fucking life. I don't know why. Why are you laughing? Oh my god, she's fucking.
Oh, she's there. Okay.
She's on the. She's laughing.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. Okay, so
did she whisper that to you, bro? Did she whisper that question to ask?
I tried. I looked at her and I'm like, bitch, give me fucking questions. I have only 4, and she's like, I don't fucking know. And like, what am I supposed to do? You're the SCE. Aren't you supposed to be like conversationalist? I am a conversationalist, but not a fucking type about typology. The fuck. Sorry.
Right.
I have an ILI. I have an ILI for that. He's just looking at me. He's not saying shit. No. By the way, why did you call yourself Solomon? Okay, that's a question. FI question. What for you? Why Solomon? What's this? Solomon what?
The Surmounter.
You know
it's
what?
Based off of a lot of things. It's based off of.
If I Google this, if I Google this, will I get the answer?
No, but you will see my face, but you won't get the answer. No.
That's sad.
Why is it sad?
Why she's laughing at me?
Well, why is it sad?
It's sad because I want to know like what the fuck is the meaning, bro. I'm NI suggestive and you're NI base. You need to give me some fucking NI.
And I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Just let me talk. So okay, it's a mixture of it was inspired by the Prophet Solomon.
Okay. Yeah.
And how he used to like use rings to wield demons and stuff like that, and that to me represents self-control. Controlling your demons, fighting your demons, stuff like that. Plus, I thought Solomon sounded like the name of a king because he was a king, so I thought it was like pretty dope.
It definitely gives me the vibes.
And the Surmounter, well, first of all, I called it the Survivor, but I didn't like it because it had like a negative, weak connotation to it. Like, oh, I'm a survivor, I'm a victim. Survivor, motherfucker. Yeah. So I was like, let me change that to Surmounter.
Yeah.
Because a person who overcomes obstacles. So Solomon represents wisdom.
Yeah.
Being wise, and the Surmounter part represents the like overcoming obstacles and stuff like that. And strength. wisdom and strength, basically.
See, now you're talking my language. I'm creaming my pants. But the reality is, you motherfucking NI bases always have some deep fucking names. Like, Surmounter, boy. Like,
Yeah, in fact, even look. So take a look at this. You see the profile picture?
Yes, I see that. Yes, Solomon Surmounter.
Yeah, that's a robot
survivor.
symbol. Yeah, no, yeah, that's the old, but it's Surmounter. But you
Yeah.
see the robot?
Yeah, I
No,
see the
that's
robot.
a symbol.
Wielding,
that's
yeah.
a symbol. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a symbol that I created. I came up with this design and I created it, and
Wow.
it's basically what my music is all about, and like what I'm trying to talk about is basically I believe that in the future there'll be like it's meant to express a world. All my music talks about like a world.
Wow.
A cyberpunk synthwave futuristic world where
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen some of them. I'm like, damn, I don't know if I should be shocked at that. Although I shouldn't be shocked at the, like what kind of music you're making, because it was very cyberpunkish.
Yeah, I make cyberpunk and also hip hop. But it's meant to be like I'm creating like a whole world, a narrative, and all that.
Wow.
And it's a story of a person named Solomon, who his spirit reincarnates into this machine.
Oh,
this
shit!
robot.
Yeah, the robot. Yeah.
So he becomes sentient, aware,
yes.
but he's in a robot body, and then he starts to remember all his past lives from previous. Right. So there's like a concept of reincarnation, and he's a robot. Found himself in this cyber futuristic city.
Yeah.
He's a killbot. He's manufactured by a organization, corporate company, and stuff like that, right? It's for war. That's what he's designed for.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he's the only item out of all the other robots that is consciously aware. No one can understand why. And the whole story is him trying to learn about who he was, who his past life was, how he became sentient. And this corporation is chasing after him because he ran away. Because then they're chasing after him, trying to get him to like use him and shit. Like there's a lot. I can keep going, but I'm gonna stop here.
I know. It's really it's really interesting because you mentioned cyberpunk and you mentioned the futuristic world. You mentioned the company chasing them.
And reincarnation as well.
Yeah, incarnation, and it's really interesting because my wife, she is in the process of writing a novel, and it also has a cyberpunk world. It has a cyberpunk world, and it has a lot about, like, again, kind of virtual reality, robots, companies like that are preying on people, like all kinds of shit that it's very futuristic. So I'm kind of thinking, that's so fucking cool, man. Like you both have the same shtick going on. Obviously it's different, but the cyberpunk thing. Wow. Send me some like really good hip hop that you've made. Like you think your favorite hip hop. I wanna like listen to it after you're done. After we're done with
my music. Sure.
Yeah, because I wanna.
I might even send you an unreleased song. Sure, no problem. Because I'm working on an album.
Yeah, I wanna fucking listen. I love hip hop. Big fucking fan of hip hop. You mentioned D12, right?
Yeah, and Royce the 5'9".
Yeah,
King Crooked.
Obviously, love that shit. So I'm here for it. Okay.
All right then.
About Psychosophy, I don't know if you know it. PY, you know PY.
Yeah, I've watched your videos. I've even typed myself.
I've seen you come to my stream and we talked about it. So Psychosophy and Enneagram. Do you plan on making videos later about that? Will you incorporate those two systems, or are you thinking, nah? I
will.
Yeah,
but not. Yeah, that's definitely there. I would like to talk more about Enneagram, especially because one of the best part about Enneagram is it talks about movements.
Yes, the integration.
Right?
Yes,
integration. Yeah. So I'm a type 5. Surprise. All right.
Yeah.
I type myself as an SO5. So I'll tell you interesting. I know a person. She's in the group that I made.
Yeah.
But she's been studying Enneagram for 30 years.
Yes.
And she was the one who actually typed me, right? And she was between 3 and 5 for me. She said she couldn't tell if I was a 3 or a 5. So the conclusion she came to, which is that I'm actually a type 5, but I seem to have a very well integrated 8, as she put it.
Okay.
Like I know how to move to 8 and switch on 8-like behavior for short periods of time, something like that.
Okay.
I'm like, that's interesting because I actually think I could see how that would make sense. But my Ennea type is, I type myself SO5.
So social 5, the totem of knowledge. You know what that means, right? The totem of knowledge. That's what you are. The big daddy dom of knowledge.
I guess so. I guess that's what I'm trying to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what social 5 is. That's what it does. It tries to be a person that is in the center of providing knowledge for others, an expert in the field almost, who's able to do that for people. So they can seem much more out there than some of the other. For example, SB5, Before we talked, I kind of had I was thinking to myself, you probably a SO5, social 5, mainly because of you're here, right, making videos, being a critical motherfucker, and being taught the more knowledge. Okay, sure, might be wrong, but we'll see. And you're a social 5, makes sense. Now self-preservation 5, it's different because you as someone who says he relates a lot to that aid thing, you have some aid shit going on in you. SP5 is the most basement dwelling, security seeking, disconnected from people, and they are really the fucking blueprint of the avarice, which is retention of what you already know, retention of resources, of knowledge, of your space. So think about the biggest basement dwelling motherfucker you can do, right? Right? There's no, I'm gonna interact with the community, I'm gonna spread knowledge, I'm gonna teach people. No, this is a person who's very self-protective, but they're often confused with self-preservation 9 in many ways. They can be shy, they can be more very docile, much more docile, much more passive. So there are some differences. You don't seem like an SX5, mainly because you're not a fucking stalker. You don't seem like you don't give me the fucking Joe Goldberg vibes. No, but SX5, I would just see much more emotionality. You probably might fit in some areas of SX5. It's considered the most rebellious 5 core. Maybe you might have SX in your stack or something, but who knows, right? Definitely we should talk about Enneagram at some point. Maybe have another not stream, but another video together where we talk about the Enneagram. And what about Psychosophy? Did you decide on your type? Tell me about that, man. I'm interested.
Okay, so I think closest is LVEF or LVFE. No, LVEF. I don't think I'm 4th E, which is if I'm gonna say, you said unbothered emotion. I don't think I'm that.
Okay, so LVEF you think could make sense?
Yeah, and I also played around with the idea of volition first, but then you said something strange, which is ILI can't be first volition. Can you explain that why?
Yeah. So many, I can tell you this much though. Many SO5s that I've seen, anecdotally, come to the community thinking they're 1V. And in particular, for example, VLEF, it happens often.
VLEF. Yeah, that was the first one I thought it was actually.
So this is what I'm talking about. Now, they think because they can handle responsibilities, they have strong will, they want to go their own way. That is kind of what happens. And they also don't relate to being 1L. They're like, I don't think I can discuss with people, I can exchange ideas, but it's how things work in conjunction. 1L and 2V is gonna really create an individual who is much more collaborative with other people. It's a person who can really enjoy group projects, who can even lead people when they are put in such a situation. They can do it. They have strong will for responsibility and for action in that way, right? And 1L, the 1L gets softened, not as aggressive as 1L and 3V, which is a butcher fest. So you will see a much more open-minded individual with 1L. That's what happens. Okay, now with 1V and why 1V cannot be with ILI for the same reason, also 5 core really, is because 5s are naturally overwhelmed by the external world. That is why they're going back to themselves. So your job as a 5 core is to try to fight against it and interact with the world, right? That's your whole life.
Yeah.
So, and first will, just 1V, it is a type that wants to assert its will. It's an aggressive placement that it will assert its will on the environment. So many people just don't think how the fuck it could work with a type that's
interesting.
Being overwhelmed by the
That's interesting because I think I've watched a couple of it. I have an idea of how you differentiate. But for example, from just what you said here, I don't really feel like the need to assert will in my environment, but I feel like I have a lot, okay, let's just say I want to do something, right? I have some sort of ambition.
Sure.
I have enough to push myself and also other people. Yeah. But the way I see it, it's like, I need to do this, but keep in mind that I need to do it to help other people as well. Like there's this collaboration, almost respectful, I'm not trying to beat the whole world into submission. which I think that's how you described 1V, and you compared it to 2V.
What you just described, you're correct. I would say that's much more of the collaborative, flexible volition than it is 1V, because 1V does have an attitude. Because think about this way: your first placement, right? It's not a good placement. What I'm saying is, because we think it's great, it's not balanced. There's so much of it, and it's often very selfish, which is why many people who are 1F, they're fucking hedonistic. They can be people who are extremely materialistic, extremely greedy. It's not a good thing.
Like Patrick Bateman.
So those imagine people who are just obsessed about that shit. It's not good, right? For anyone, they can be very greedy. So you apply this logic to volition, and you get a person who, yes, they want to assert themselves, but it's also a person who they're so convinced in their direction in life that they're not gonna compromise. Compromise is gonna be rare. So it's not a collaborative person. It's a person who wants to instill its force, its impact on the world. What you're describing is much more a person who has strong will, which makes sense. It makes sense you have strong will. The way you talked about yourself, it makes sense. So it's a person who can collaborate with others, who can even push others, who is able to be open to creating solutions together with other people. It's not like, oh, I don't go fuck about anything else. It's not selfish. The will is not selfish.
And I'd be like more like stubborn on L, or unwilling to change on L.
Your L is like your fucking uber confident placement. You jerk off to it. That's just your shit, okay? You might not really think much about it, because consider your first L placement, it's result. So it's not like you're gonna be consciously aware of it all the fucking time. That's
and they're not constantly talking too much about like,
yes.
oh, this is what I think and stuff like that, right? Like,
exactly, right? Same with first will. You don't see me talking about my ambitions, my plans, my fucking like, oh, I'm gonna be doing. I don't give a fuck. Nothing. It's just expressed through behavior. It's expressed through actions, right? And that's why for example, me sitting and circle jerking correlations, and sometimes we've been going back and forth. Oh my god, am I doing this right? What the fuck is going on? That's process, because I cannot come to a conclusion. I'm constantly stuck in this loop. It's not result. Result is okay. So what's the answer? Okay, okay, it makes sense. Yeah, I think this is the answer, and they stick to it. That's it. That's the result. My placement is insecure logic. You're in your element. That's the funny thing. You are in your element. Me, I'm not in my fucking element. This is like getting buffed by 10 silverback gorillas with no fucking loop. Like this is not fun experience, okay? I can doubt myself. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, okay, maybe this motherfucker gave me a good argument. Oh fuck, I don't fucking know. Then I'm like, you know what? Fuck both of you. I don't give a fuck about logic. Like it makes me want to just do that. Like, okay, fuck you then. Maybe by the way, this is off record, right? Don't let anyone catch us saying this. But you can fucking, spread your fucking agenda. No, I'm definitely gonna keep this shit in. But anyway, you should do you have any words for the audience? Like
I don't know,
bro.
Dude.
Like spread your fucking message, motherfucker. Jesus Christ.
You want to see my message? Just come to my channel, bro. That's all I got.
I'm putting him on the spot now, but okay, I'm gonna have obviously. Listen, your shit's gonna be in the comment section. It's gonna be in the fucking description. It's gonna be on my forehead too when I fucking paint that motherfucking shit.
Right, but I want to say also what you're doing is really dope. I like your channel. I think it's pretty dope. Like it also is the entertaining aspect of it as well. You're definitely an entertainer.
I got to the ILI. Don't fucking need to take no, but thank you, man. It's nice to see that. Like Jason told me. Jason said, because I've talked to Jason, like, you do collaborate with other channels. Because there's only like 4 or 5 of us, like Jason said, so little. Yeah. We do need to kind of work together here, So I like your shit too. Obviously, keep dissing me, keep fucking creating hit pieces on me. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna say, wow, amazing hit piece. I love being dissed.
No, but you're one of the channels that's actually dope. That's actually you, Jack, Porcupine Jason, and Personality Hacker.
Jack too,
and as well as Personality Hacker. Those and the Source Psych. Those 5 channels I think are amazing.
See, the only fucking retarded sensing type, like SEE, who can barely use his fucking brain, somehow made to the fucking top of the list, baby.
This was dope, man. It was a nice.
Thank you
it was
for
a very
it,
nice
dude.
talk.
You have a great vibe, man. I like your vibe. I think we have something good going on here. Like we play off each other pretty well. I make a fucking retarded joke, you laugh. Probably no one makes you fucking laugh. So not to say I take credit, which I do. But we have good chemistry there, man. Thanks for the call, man.
All good, man. All good. Thank you for having me. Actually, thank you.
Thanks, and again, Solomon, Big Daddy Dome Solomon. Take care and
all right,
have
peace
fun,
out.
Man. Bye bye.
See you.